Welcome to Weaver Pods. Meet the Writer is sponsored by the Meikles Trust with special thanks to Sable Printers. This recording took place on the 19th of February 2015 at the Prince Edward School Auditorium in Harare, Zimbabwe. For further information, please visit our website www.weaverpresszimbabwe.com.
My name is Murray McCartney from Weaver Press Publishers, and on behalf of myself and my colleagues Irina Staunton, my co-director, Jabu Mbono, our publishing assistant, and Tapatua Karuma, our intern, I'd like to welcome you. We are here to talk about books. You'll hear much about writing, but don't forget that reading is also important. Reading is an art, and it's often one that's overlooked. I hope it won't be overlooked by the students who are in the room today. A good book needs a good reader. Indeed, it needs lots of good readers. People who read with sensitivity, with insight and intelligence. We're going to start with Ignatius Mbasa on my far left, talking to Shimmer Chinodya. Ignatius Mbasa, the one not wearing a cap, is a poet, a storyteller and a novelist who writes mainly in Shona. His books include Mapenzi, Ndafahere, and Imba Munu, all of which have been highly acclaimed. Ignatius is a former deputy director of the British Council in Zimbabwe and now works full-time as a writer, translator, and storyteller. Shimmer Chinodya, the one with the cap, has written many novels and short stories, including Chairman of Fools, Tale of Tamari, and Harvest of Thorns, which won the Commonwealth Writers' Prize. He's written other books under his pen name Ben Chirasha, and is also a textbook writer. Strife, which many of you are studying for your A-level, won the Japanese Noma Award for publishing in Africa in 2008. Ignatius, if I can hand over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon. Since I have been asked to talk to Shimmer, I'll pretend you are not here and talk to Shimmer. Shimmer, thank you very much and welcome and congratulations for having your novel Strife prescribed as an A-level literature set text. My first question, Shimmer, is why do you write?
It's the only thing I can do. I think it's an obsession. It's like asking Oliver to say I think Oliver started with bunch of guitars when he was a kid. I started writing when I was very young. I think I was in grade 5 when I sent my first dismal novel called The Runaway Servant to Longman. They got a very polite reply, our publishing program is not geared for works of this nature. I wasn't discouraged. I wrote and wrote and wrote. I did other things, but right now, all I do is just read and write. It's a calling. It's an obsession. I have to do it, okay?
If you don't do it?
I cease to exist.
All right, no, thank you. As a follow-up to that question, what is the role of the writer in education and in the lives of people in general? Your novel is now an A-level literature set book, but besides, it's not just students that are reading your novel, but not just your novel, but your works. What is the role of the writer in education?
I think for me, the role of the writer is to write well. That's the role. I think if you do that and shut yourself to these expectations that people have. You're a priest Are you a prophet? Are you a commentator? Are you a journalist? I think all those are secondary to me. I think the writer's role is to listen to his muse, listen to his calling, and try and do it as well as he should, and leave all those interpretative. That function is for the critics and for teachers and all that. I think as long as the writer is being honest to himself and honest to his craft or a craft, that's a good enough role. I think that's a tall order anyway. So I'm not worried about what am I doing as some writers will tell you writers are prophets or whatever. I don't mind people saying that after my books are done. My role is to do those books before I die. Okay.
Well, for the benefit of the teachers, the students who will be studying or who are studying your novel, I'll say in 3 minutes, what is Strife all about?
Strife is a book that cried out to be written. I think in a writing career, you start off probably when you're in high school, you are battling with language, you're battling with content, you're writing a lot of awful stuff, mostly, and then you master the language, you develop a voice, you develop a style, you probably exhaust your childhood, you exhaust your adolescent experiences, and you grow up. And when you've grown up, or think you've grown up, I'm not sure I've grown up. Have you grown up? No, you've not. When you think you're starting to grow up, there's a book and you're a writer, or even a musician, I think there's an album which says, "Sing Me," or there's a book which says, "Now you can write me." I think Strife is something that I moved towards. I've done 8 or, I don't know, I've done lots of stuff before that. But Strife was it's kind of summing up. It covers 150 years of my ancestry. Vanasekuru wangu my 1830, okay? Vanavasitateguru wangu my 1830, that's when it starts. Some of it is researched, some of it is made up. But it came in my career when I thought I had a voice. I thought I was confident enough to do a book about 1.5 centuries, a family over 1.5 centuries. It's about my life, it's based on my life and my family. So it's a tribute to my ancestors. Please shut up for 2 seconds. Okay, thank you. They've heard it, right? So it's that kind of book, I very much enjoyed doing it. It was a big challenge, but it came at a very crucial stage in my life. I thought I was grown up enough to tackle issues to do with my identity, issues to do with being black and middle class, and trying to come to terms with your past, trying to come to terms with your future, which comes out of the past.
Thank you. But looking at the book covers, for those of you who have the book cover of the books, both the old version, which is not the student's edition, so that's the first edition, the black one, and this one. And then in the novel itself, you make use of a lot of imagery and symbolism. Can you explain the fire? I see there's fire, the peeling off wall, plastering, and the missing roof that is on the book cover. What do they stand for? Do they have any connection with, or this is something that maybe you will not be able to answer?
I love the covers very much. Weaver takes so much time with their covers. If I told you the little conferences we have and the votes that we have. This one will do, this won't do, and Irene is sitting there quietly, and but we came up with, the first one I quite like, it's called Dende, what do we call this in English? A goat with a fire, a big bed roaring fire. And in the background you can see silhouettes, you know, outlines of ancient people in ancient clothes playing drums. But inside that goat, there's cars, there's a street, there's an urban scene. I think this is very representative. It's like the modern life is exploding into a big flame, uncontrollable, unput-outable. Okay. And in the background, in the dark, are those spirits, those ancestors which nobody really understands, and that's why they are blackened out. So I quite love that. I think it sums up the dilemmas of the modern day African family. You know, it's exploding under so many things. You could say that's your economics, that's your cars, that's Zimbabwe, but those ancestors are kind of lurking in the background, you know, and we can't avoid them. Now this one, I showed this to my sisters and my children. That was a kurumfu. I'm a kule. I showed them and I could see on their faces there was a kind of pained look. I mean, that burnt out house, it's central. I think this sums up that burnt out modern plot house. It sums up the wreckage, you know, the emotional, cultural, social wreckage that the book tries to depict, the burnt out culture, the burnt out lives. So these are very painful images, but I think they sum up strife. It's a very painful book, but we can't avoid that. I think if we did a little census here, we've all had our strifes in our families. And I think it's important for young people to know. I don't think you can run away from this. I don't think you can. I mean, even white people have their own stripes. I think even Indian people, I just think the past is inescapable.
Then this probably, what you're saying leads me to the next question, that I seem to notice that almost all your writings are about strife in one way or another. If you look at Harvest of Thorns, there's strife. Can We Talk? The short stories, strife. Chairman of Fools, strife. Is this deliberate and maybe, yes, is this deliberate or?
I think good writing is about pain and struggle and suffering and trying to make meaning, the struggle to make meaning out of existence. I think this is what makes good literature. Good literature is not about the happily ever after. I mean, that's boring. I can do a happily ever story in a week. But I think all good writing is about felt pain, felt struggle, felt experience. I look back and realize strife is really a serious version of Dew in the Morning. I don't know if anybody read Dew in the Morning. I'm getting copies from London next week. If any teachers are interested, it's my first book. Call me if you want. But Dew in the Morning I was 18, I was in Form 6 when I wrote Dew in the Morning. It's an earlier version of strife, I noticed. But that's the answer. I think for me, I'm a very happy person, please. People think I'm a very strange animal, but I'm a very happy person. I like mixing. I love people, I love music, I love books, I love family. But then when it comes to writing, my particular slant on life is like the struggle, the pain. But that's the beauty of it. I think beauty in art is about beautifying the ugly, beautifying the painful. created something beautiful. I think that's a beautiful cover. I love it. But when I remember how I struggled to write it, that's painful. But when it's done like this, and it's so beautiful, and I get invited to Prince Edward to yep. I'm very lonely. I work alone, live alone mostly. So that's beautiful. That's art. The content is struggle, but then
you make reference to Dew in the Morning, and in that novel, you showed that the African has a religion that he can depend on. And now, coming back to Strive, you seem to be questioning that very same religion.
I've written about religion, and I get drawn more and more to it. I think it's like approaching. Come on, Mary. You're nearly there. I think the older you get, the more you start, because I always look at the sky night after night after night. You know, this cosmic influence. The older you, night after night I look at it, and of late I've been Googling about the cosmos. You know, it's like, this is a little cosmos that I've been moving towards, you know. I start off with Dew in the Morning, it's Gokwe, and Masisi, my mother in the rain, Chirwa, Nenyuchi, you know, things like that, and the witches, you know. It's a little microcosmic world. And then I move on to relationships, and then I move on to the war, the history of Zimbabwe, then I move on to Strife, which is cosmic in a sense. You know, my sister or my mother looks at the moon, and the moon controls everything. Okay, so I'm looking beyond the earth and going to the moon. I don't know why. What did I say? I get lost.
No, I hear you. I asked the question about, you know, how in Dew in the Morning.
Oh, okay.
You are saying the African. You portray African traditional religion as something that.
Oh, religion. Okay.
Yeah, that one can depend on, and then I seem to say.
I think all religions are contentious.
Yeah.
I think all religions are a struggle. I want to look at Islam. I know enough about Christianity. I was Dutch reformed when I was a kid. I think all religions don't. I said somewhere at the launch of one of my books, I said I don't hate God. Okay, I think God is a force bigger than all the religions put together would begin to comprehend. Okay, that's a quote from Chiwoniso. I wrote a terrible story called Infidel, in which I questioned the whole cosmos and the whole God and all that. And I contend that God is bigger than Bibles and Qurans and Buddhist tracts and Zen and Aztec and Guanangara, no, not Guanangara. I don't know, I can miss my ancestor. My whispering ancestor. I think God is bigger than Bibles, and that's not blasphemy, is it? That's a tribute to God. I think religion fixates. Okay, fixates. Religion fixates God. God becomes BC, AD 1, AD 200. That's nonsense. I mean, the universe is 3 billions of years old, and everyone comes with their Jesuses and their Messiahs. I don't think I'm being blasphemous. I think that's fine. That's fine. But I think for young people is to open up your minds and go to church, be good, but be tolerant, be open-minded to other religions. That's my religion, openness and tolerance and love.
There's a quotation in Strife where one of the cries actually is, oh, how strife can destroy rationality. And several of the characters suffer from some form of irrationality. And you seem to be making a comment on a lot of us, the modern day African. Are we free from tradition? Is tradition a curse or a blessing as a follow-up to what you're saying? Because really we need to be able to hear from you in terms of where you place African tradition, African traditional religion, and where strife is.
I think somewhere at the end, is this thing working? Oh, okay, mine. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. I talk with my hands mostly. And somewhere at the end of the book, I say, oh, I've lost it. What did I want to say? You see what happens when you're a writer. Your mind gallops ahead of yourself. As a result, you have to have books all over and write down things and all that. I can't remember even what I was going to say in the last chapter of the book. What was it?
Well, it was is the African freedom from tradition. Is tradition
yes.
a curse or a blessing?
Okay. Somewhere in the book, the main character sums up the whole ethos of the novel by confronting shame and tradition and education and science and questioning everything. And I think the character called Godi, the persona, the narrator, is told, or he says, tradition, there's nothing called tradition. It's all cyclical. It's like nothing's ever new under the sun or on earth. We think we're modern, but we're not. I mean, somebody's argued that India, for instance, is a civilization in decline, a sophisticated civilization which is in decline. Okay? And Africa used to be Egypt, Cheops, and the pyramids, and Cleopatra, and science. The first astronomy didn't start in 1969 when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. I mean, the Chinese were doing astronomy. Africans were doing, I would go so far as to declare that science and witchcraft, the so-called witchcraft, you get some Madarajas Noti, Unokuram basket, they put you into a little basket and you close your eyes and zip, like lightning, like Albert Einstein's light. You are in Malawi. You know those things happen. You don't think so? I mean, those things happen. I think there's a dimension which we don't know. And my contention is that science and that those powers that witches have, those powers that we Africans have to speak to our ancestors. You ask me, you ask Ignatius, Africans do talk to their ancestors. You do, don't they? Yeah, we talk to our ancestors and we get a reply. I can't go into details, there's no time. But I did it inadvertently. I talked to my ancestors one day. I was stuck, I was angry, I was mad. And then I was just chanting up my ancestors. I know them back to 1830. I know their names. I know both my mothers and my fathers. And I got a phone call 6 hours later and I had been heard. I quaked with fear. I ran to Mama Maini, I'm an orphan. I said, Mama, look what I did. And she said, don't do it again. You have heard you. Don't ever, don't wake sleeping dogs. Let them lie. I think that's my motto. I do not wake sleeping dogs, but the thing is when those dogs want to bite you, what do? You've got to be able to know how to deal with the dogs of the past. That's what strife is all about. If the past comes knocking on your door, would you know what to do? You know what your fathers are doing, auntie? You know Fiwa, you know Weriwa, and your fathers do funny, or mothers do funny things. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to you. So you got to know, and strife, I think, prepares you what to do. I'm a more resilient person than my father. My father thought schizophrenia and epilepsy and all that were, ancestral and all that, but I know about medicine. I will run to Sunanda if I need help, so I can manage my life better. I think you're better off knowing the worst, and that's what Strive does. It gives you the worst possible scenario from which I grew.
I have a question that I think I would want to hear an answer from you, and probably also the students and the teachers here. There's been a debate that Shakespeare or Shakespearean texts should be removed from our school syllabus or school curriculum because they are of no value to our culture and systems. I'm sure you heard about it. It's been in the media.
Stanley Mushawa.
Yes.
He loves English.
Yes. What's your take?
I think that's nonsense. If any of you want to be writers, or if any of you want to do literature in life, I hope you want to do literature. I hope I'm inspiring you with literature university. I mean, all the people are running off to do science. I mean, where are the writers going to come from? But you could question again.
It's about the relevance of Shakespeare.
All right. I think it's nonsense. Can you believe this? I gave my books to a bookstore called Best Books. Caroline is my friend. It's a very good shop in 5 Avenue. And she sold some of them. So just yesterday, 2 days ago, I went to collect some money. It's not much. I said, okay, I want those Shakespeare's. Yesterday, I bought, as you like it, I bought 6 or 7 others, King Lear, King. I read anything and everything. I read African American literature. I was reading Gwendolyn Brooks' poetry two nights ago. I read 6 books at once, and I think the classics. Go back to the classics. Go back to Shakespeare. Go back to Tolstoy. Go back to. I think the trouble with rap poetry. I'm very sorry. It's like the masturbation of the fornication of the extrapolation of electrification of. I think I'm sorry about that. Your dental. I'm sorry, your dental doesn't have melody, doesn't have rhythm. It has. I listen to it and I love it. But I think art should go back to the classics. We can't do away with classics. Let's have 1 or 2 Shakespeare's alongside our own stuff. And translation is important. Reading. I read South American writers in translation, people like Isabel Allende or Garcia Marquez.
I had a few more questions, but we need to take a few questions from the floor.
Thank you. My name is Tinashe Goronga, and I'm a medical student who's also interested in literature and writing. So I wanted to find out how your personal life influenced your work, because you always have discussions on whether a person's work really reflects who they are, or you can't really separate the author from their work.
Okay, that's a good question. I think for me, the writer cannibalizes himself or herself. I think the consummate writer goes through that phase. It's not a direct transformation of your life into art, but the person you are, the voice that you have, the everyday voice, the everyday ear, becomes the voice in writing. I think if you, like for me, if I read something by a writer that I like, I have to know that is that right. I have to know that. And I think that comes out of using yourself and mining. I really had a nice little comment about me mining nuggets from my life. Nuggets are little pieces of gold, okay? So you dig up your own experience for those nuggets. That's my kind of writer, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed that I'm Farai, in Farai's Girls or Godi. But then you got to be careful with me. I play games with you. I edit myself. I switch voices. I metamorphosis. Okay, the writer sizes, whatever.
Stick to the short words.
So to answer you, yes, there's the writer in his or her own work, but then the writer must go beyond that. He must be able to compress and embellish and play games with himself, play games with the reader.
Well, can I hear a round of thanks
Thank you for listening. This podcast was commissioned by Weaver Press and produced by T3.